I know you have a lot of students that'll probably come in that maybe they have no idea what they want to do, and that's totally natural. You can be in your 40s and 50s and not know what you want to do.
That's right.
But how does that translate into the films that they make? If there's sort of this ambiguous question of what are they going to do with the rest of their lives, where do they fit into this, you know, working world, whatever, how does that translate into the films that they make?
Here, the films that they make here?
Yeah.
Well, that probably means that they don't know how to, like, if they're not sure, then they'll probably go into the film not sure, and so there won't be anything specific about it. I mean, I would say one of the things that that students struggle with the most, not just in their filmmaking, but kind of everything and what they write, their analytical papers, is everything feels very generic. It feels very broad. It feels very borrowed. And so the thing but that comes with youth. But the thing that they have to sort of work on and getting used to is getting specific. Getting specific in terms of their ideas. Like, what do you want this to really be about? Getting specific, if we're talking about in terms of a film, a narrative film, getting specific about what your character does. What do they do? What are they doing in a scene? What is the scene about? How specific can you get? So I would say that sort of directionlessness, I don't like calling it that because that feels a little judgmental, but just a sense of not knowing. If they're not sure, they will be unsure in making, you know. Once somebody figures out that that's what they're interested in, that's what they want to do, they will get more confident and more sure about what they're trying to express too, and they will get more specific in the content.
I always think it's such a gift to know what you want to do when you're like 16, 17.
Yeah, it is. I did, but I don't think I was 17. I was probably 18. You know, I've been like, but I also didn't know anything about it. Like, I didn't grow up with a camera in my hand. I was not a photographer, and I was, like I said before, like, there's no film culture. I didn't know anything about filmmaking. It's actually a story I tell my students that are feeling intimidated or feeling like they don't belong or whatever, because that was me when I was at San Francisco State. I always tell that story. Like, the first production class that they used to make you take, because there's so many students, they can't put you all in production right away, but they call it a production class, and it was a large lecture class of, I don't know, 100 students, 125 students, whatever. And you never touch a camera in the production class. You just get lectured to. And the first day, the instructor says something like, and a film camera standard speed is, and it felt like the other 99 students all said 24 frames a second. I didn't know anything about film production or, you know, standard camera speed or anything like that, sync sound. So there was this feeling of like, oh my God, I am completely, I'm out of my depth. Everybody else here knows more than I do. There's no way I'm going to be able to catch up. I don't know anything about film production. I don't know anything about cameras. I don't know anything about this technology. Can I actually do this? So it's a story I tell my students because, you know, I mean, it's not like it came to me, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about technology, but it's a story I tell my students just to know that, like, you're absolutely not the only person who's ever sat down in a film class and not known all of this stuff or understood it, and you can come in as a complete layman. But that doesn't mean that you can't be interested in film and ultimately sort of become a filmmaker. That's just learning. That's just picking up the gear and learning the gear. That takes time, but it's not like some impossible mountain that you can't climb. So I think that's like a crucial thing. You know, this is sort of answering a question that we had in one of the other segments, especially for this population of students, because the equipment can feel like it's from another world. Because if I tell them, you know, that 5D costs a couple $1,000s, they don't have a couple $1,000s to throw down on a 5D. Or, you know, they get to use, in our more advanced classes, they get to use a Canon C300, which is a $10,000 camera. Without any lenses on it, it's a $10,000 camera. And so that can be, you know, and the difference between those students and students at like a 4-year private university, okay, cool, you know, let me get my hands on it, great, you know. So I don't know how I got them. I'm off on a tangent here.
No, I like it. Oh, sorry. So when you were at San Francisco State, did you then eventually feel like, okay, I have my own way into this. It doesn't have to be like everybody else, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, yeah, San Francisco is just culturally, it's just different than Los Angeles, and I mean that's a very independent's not even the right word. It's a very guerrilla style. Like there's not that's a school that's geared more towards the avant-garde and documentary. There's some narrative filmmakers. I was a narrative filmmaker. My mentor there, she's still there. She's a narrative filmmaker. But I never felt like I was ostracized or outside. I just felt like I didn't know enough. And when I got out of there, I still didn't feel like I knew enough. That's why I went to grad school. That was one of the main reasons I went to grad school. I mean, I got to make a couple films. One really. This first one doesn't really count. I got to make one film, and I directed a film, but I realized while I'm doing it, I don't know what I'm doing. And you shouldn't. So, but that was, and I don't know enough about the equipment. I don't know enough about the technology. I knew I actually wanted to teach. I knew that was the way I was going to try to make a living. I mean, I knew a few things. I knew I wanted to make my own films. The only thing I was interested in was making my own stuff. And I knew that I wasn't going to fall out of school and be able to make a living doing that. So I had to figure out a way to do that, to try to make my own stuff and still be able to pay the rent. And I'm too egotistical to do it as an assistant editor on like reality television or something. There's just people who can do that they're better people than me, because I could not do it. So I figured I was going to teach. So I need to learn more so I can, claim to have the authority to be able to teach a class. And I just need to learn more. I need to make more films. So then I went to grad school. So when I got out of there, I felt better, but I still knew I needed to learn more. And I still need to learn more. Like you continually learning every time you do it, every single time.